Nick Spicer, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
There have been a number of small rallies here in the US, in New York and Washington, protesting against Gaddafi's regime. Outside the White House, a group of more than 50 protesters from a number of US states chanted anti-Gaddafi statements. Many were international students who are concerned their scholarships could be revoked for appearing at anti-government demonstrations.
The scholarship, they can take the scholarship and they don't care about that. I can go now, right now. If they just like cut the scholarship, I will go immediately. Now, what's going in my country, it's miserable. We can't just watch and just stay.
I will say something to Barack Obama. Please, Barack Obama, don't make a friendship with the dictatorship, but please make a friendship with the people, with the Libyan people, with the youth of Libya, not with the dictatorship.
I wish I were over there to fight with my brother. A lot of people over there dying, innocent people. They didn't do anything. They just go to the street. They just went to the street, and they wanna destroy that system over there.
Anyone who speaks out publicly, anyone who speaks to the media, is risking their life, and they're not afraid. None of us are afraid anymore. I could probably not go home anymore after this, but I'm not afraid.
And that's our update from the Americas. Now let's return to Doreen in Doha.
The Libyan government says that 300 people have been killed in the anti-government protests so far, and that number includes both civilians and military personnel. But other estimates have put the number as high as 1,000. And the United Nations Security Council has condemned the crackdown and has demanded an immediate end to the violence. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has addressed the nation in a 75-minute speech where he said he wasn't going anywhere. Gaddafi says he would, quote, die a martyr and would fight to his last drop of blood. And Ahmed al-Zaiwi, the Secretary General of the People's Committee, spoke on Libyan state television a short while back. He's blamed international media, including Al Jazeera, for exaggerating the unrest taking place in the country. Well, across Europe, hundreds of protesters have rallied, demanding their governments take action over the violence in Libya. Here's Rory Challens from London.
As the violence increases in Libya, the voices of condemnation against Gaddafi are getting louder. On streets across Europe, there have been solidarity protests calling for the Libyan leader to stand down. In London, hundreds gathered outside the home of the British Prime Minister. They handed in a petition asking the British government to push for the closure of Libyan airspace. Meanwhile, just down the road at the Foreign Office, William Hague claimed Libya's state apparatus is collapsing.
There are many indications of the structure of the state collapsing in many ways in Libya. It's turned out it hasn't so far involved Colonel Gaddafi's departure, but the resignation of so many ambassadors and diplomats, reports of ministers changing sides within Libya itself, shows that the system is in a very serious crisis.
In Germany, further protests. The German foreign minister soon responded.
We urge the Libyan government to immediately stop the violence against the citizens of their own country. If Libya continues to violently put down protests by their own people, sanctions will be inevitable.
And the Russian leader, speaking at a security conference, warned of the long-term instability implications for the region.
It is quite possible that complicated events will take place, including the arrival of fanatics to power. This will mean fires for decades ahead and the further spread of extremism.
In France, as protests continued, the government announced it was sending 3 planes to evacuate its citizens. Late on Tuesday, the French Foreign Ministry said one of those planes was refused permission to land in Tripoli and was rerouted to Malta. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, London.
In other developments, a Libyan naval vessel is in waters near Malta, and let's just find out why that is. Al Jazeera's Cal Perry is there. Cal, why?
Well, still unclear at this point. We do know that the Italian Air Force has scrambled 5 F-16 jets. They are overhead. We do understand that they have visual contact with that craft. We still don't know what the reason is for the craft being where it is. It's obviously one of two possibilities. Either people are defecting. The fear here is that there's a security concern growing. We know that the Italian army has gone on high alert in southern Italy, all of their bases, and here in Malta, the army has withdrawn all passes for their soldiers. Nobody is allowed to go on leave. Clearly, a security situation is growing between Italy and Tripoli. I can also tell you that, as we heard in the previous piece, the evacuation plans are just not going well to getting foreign nationals back here to Malta from Tripoli. Planes are just circling the airport coming in. And tonight I'm standing in the terminal at the airport, and I can tell you we're seeing from different countries, Germany, Italy, France, we've seen special forces soldiers coming into this airport, going into the city, obviously staying overnight to prepare for missions probably tomorrow morning.
Cal, how is this playing out in Malta? I mean, Malta has found itself indirectly involved because of what's happening in Libya.
Yeah, this is really just a giant airfield at this point, and it's becoming a staging area for everyone who's trying to get out of Libya. We're hearing horror stories of the people who are managed to make it out, talking about mercenaries driving around in Land Rovers, opening fire indiscriminately on people. Those stories are coming through pretty clearly here, and I think the people in Malta are reacting to that. This is a small, tiny island country, the smallest country in the European Union. It has major immigration problems from North Africa. So it's a bit of a give and take here on the sympathy side versus the immigration side. The UNHCR has said roughly 300,000 people could flee Libya. That's a huge problem here, certainly in Malta, and certainly for Italy as well. But for right now, I think sympathy is prevailing. People want to see people coming back here safe.
So how is Malta facilitating the arrival of those people? What actions are being taken?
Well, right now, most of the people that are coming through Malta are foreign nationals from Europe, so they're just transiting through. We haven't seen any major refugee issues, although we did hear from, again, Italian military sources, high military sources, telling us that there's a boat that is also just off the coast of Malta, this one from Tunisia. And it's a sort of one of those rickshaw boats that's kind of cobbled together with whatever people can make, and people are fleeing not only the situation that's going on in Tripoli and around the country of Libya, but also in Tunisia. I mean, the fire that swept across North Africa is certainly causing a domino effect here, and immigration concerns continue to rise. The UNHCR is really pushing people here in Malta to give consideration, especially for the two pilots that defected here. They want to give them political asylum. We're going to have to wait and see how it plays out, of course, if the masses start to come in this direction.
All right, Cal Perry, thank you. We can now cross over back to Shihab in Washington, D.C. for more news from Libya. Shihab.
Hi, yes, and indeed Washington's response. We keep hearing the cry over the last few days of our continuous coverage of the situation in Libya. Washington must do something. It must get involved. So what can it do realistically? We are joined by a former government official in the Bush administration and indeed other administrations, Nicholas Burns. He was the former U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs. He was in that post from 2005 to 2008 during the George W. Bush presidency. He was also the administration's top negotiator on Iran. He's in Boston, Massachusetts. Are there realistic expectations for what President Obama can do right now?